Okay. All right. Why am I so afraid? Don't agree with that. No. Man. I was so excited about it being easier this time. I really thought it was going to be easier. I wasn't nervous. The camera goes on and my mind goes blank. I really feel like a mess. When those darts come at us, especially when they're in the form of lies and accusations, our sword is Yahuwah's word, and our shield is being in complete agreement with it. If our sword is Yahuwah's word, our enemy's sword is opposition to truth, the lies. In order to be in agreement with his word, we need to continuously be washed in it, seeking it. He's just causing us to become stronger and stronger in him. I know that I can do this in you. I know that I can't do it by myself. I can only do this if I am uraying you. I uray Yahuwah in the face of my enemies. Thank you, Abba, that your power is perfected in all of my weaknesses, your strength and your power in me. Okay. Shalom. Oh, yes. Okay. My mom says that she likes it better when I'm looking into the camera. So, hi, Mom. Like I said last time, I feel weird talking to a little circle. I'd rather at least feel like I'm talking to myself, which I'm looking at right now. Sometimes it really distracts me when I'm just trying to stare in one place. I hope the lighting is okay. I am outside right now. I have some candlelight here. My kids are supposed to be in bed. I'm out on my lanai. I can't tell you how much all of your words, your encouragement means so much to me. So I told caregiver that I'm going to film this message tonight, even if I have to sit in front of the camera all night long. I feel like the messages are actually for me. What happened to my coffee? I had been watching Alan since 2015. I immediately fell in love with him. And I immediately fell in love with the Otiot. Alan knew that I loved the Otiot, and over the years, when he would confirm to me that, that I had a gift for interpreting the Otiot, I just got more excited. One day in one of the live streams, just out of nowhere, he was talking about Yahuwah chooses where his name dwells. I'd be interested to know, dig into the Otiot for that word for dwell. And he just said, hey Tiffany, if you do an Otiot study on that word, just let me know and give me a call and we'll talk about it. And I was like, what? Was he talking to me? Oh man, I'd never been so excited to dig into a word. I'm always excited to dig into the Otiot. Now it was like Alan was giving me an assignment. He really didn't say he was giving me an assignment. He was just, to me, it was like, I have an assignment. And I've never been so excited about anything. I was in Key West on a business trip with my husband, and I was just sitting in the hotel room. I must have just sat there for 3 hours, just digging in. This Otiot study was different than any one that I had ever done. Abba was taking me all over his word and making connections and to another level of these Otiot studies. And so I wrote it all out and I emailed it to Alan, and he called me right away. I think that was the second phone conversation I'd ever had with Alan, and he said to me on that day in that hotel, he said, you really have a gift. He said, you have an anointing for interpreting the the Father's Otiot. So do you think maybe you should be teaching it and doing videos? I got butterflies in my stomach. Honestly, kind of laughed, just like giggled my way out of it. And, you know, I explained to him my camera shy problem. And he just talked to me like a dad. It wasn't too long after that I decided I'm going to do this. If you've seen that one, you see how tough it was, but honestly, I still feel like it's that tough. I'm going to share something that Alan said to me that has really stuck with me. I think about it all the time. I was working on my first video. I was at the editing part, and it was really, really tough. I was almost ready to give up. Alan said, Tiffany, if there's effort involved, it's in the flesh. Just play in Elohim's sandbox. Wow. If it weren't for Alan, and it was through him being my shepherd, I still feel like Alan is with me. He's always spoken these living words to us. That's how we know him, is him speaking the word. That word is still here and is getting stronger and stronger. Alan's with us now more than ever.
Shalom!
Is it scary?
Yes.
We do not Yireh anything but YHWH.
That's scary, Mom.
The lighting probably just changed because I had to plug my phone into my computer because it's going dead because I've been sitting here for so long. Gosh, this is so ridiculous. So I just want to give everybody a really good understanding of the Otiot. I'm going to put some links under this video. Alan has an awesome Otiot study where he literally goes through all 22 pictographs. He really goes into depth explaining them. So that's a really important video to watch. And I'm going to go through all 22 of them tonight as well. Abba really wants me to give a full picture and a full understanding with connecting ideas. A lot of people have been asking questions because it's so different from anything that we ever have been taught. I just want to share with you what Abba has shared with me, try and give you the picture that he's given me. I look at the Otiot as the seed, or the seeds, but altogether the good seed. This is the good seed. All of the seeds are part of the seed, the good seed, and they all connect to each other. Just like Paul talks about how we're all like different body parts of the same body. I think that's similar to how the Otiot is. They're all different oats that are all part of the same living word. And they all have different functions, but they also all connect to each other. When we're going back to YHWH's original seed, we have to remember this. The Bible that we all read, the Father's Word, they were all separate books. They were all separate scrolls. We know that the Torah started to be written around 1500 BC. So what about before that? In the beginning was the Word. What does that mean? YHWH has no beginning or no end. The Word always was. We see in creation that YHWH spoke everything into existence. All of creation was created by the Word. And really, literally everything that we look around and see is from His creation. Man cannot create anything. Every little thing that we have, that we use, that we touch, that we look at, it's all from YHWH's creation. Now when we go outside and we look at the trees and the plants and the sky and the stars and the animals, we see creation in its, original form for the most part. And when we look around at all the things that were made by man, it's still all materials that was taken from creation. I'm going to be making a lot of connections from my last video. 6 days of creation. Man was last. And that is because our Father is loving and perfect. He made sure that everything was perfectly in place for us. He created everything that we needed to learn, to teach us. All of his promises, all of his word, all of his truth is seen in his creation. I'm going to read Romans chapter 1, verses 19 and 20. That which is known of Elohim is manifest among them, for Elohim has manifested it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisibilities have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, both his everlasting power and mightiness, for them to be without excuse. So that's really, really important to understand, because so many people have questions about, what about, people in different parts of the world, that are raised this way or raised that way, or whatever. Everybody always has these worries and concerns. The word says that everything about YHWH is manifest in his creation. It's all manifest in what he has made. So nobody has an excuse. The plan from the very beginning was for us to learn from his word through what he's made, which is what the Otiot is all about. We are told that Enoch was the first one to be taught writing. He was taught through the Malachim, the angels, the messengers. At that point, YHWH put his word, his signs, in writing form. So here was the written word. The Otiot, the written word, the most original form of the written word, was pictures. YHWH's concepts, his teachings through his signs, his promises, his creation. Everything's created by his word. Everything that we need comes from his creation. But the scriptures that are all in our canon didn't start to be written until Moshe, writing the Torah. So between creation and the time that Torah started to be written, everyone who was walking with the Father before that was learning by living life and walking with the Father and seeking truth and living through experiences. If we're walking with him and we're seeking truth, then he's teaching us through everything that we do, all of our living experiences. Abba has really been speaking to the whole entire mishpacha as a whole, and we're all becoming more and more echad on how important the Otiot is, because we see that it's literally all the way back to the beginning as far as we can get with the written word. We're all developing a deeper and deeper passion for the Otiot. I've heard a lot of people saying that, they really, really want to learn Hebrew or Aramaic, and they really want to learn the Otiot, but just have to be really careful that there's no stress about it, that you're not putting any effort into it. Remember Alan's words, if there's effort, then it's in the flesh. Just play in Elohim's sandbox. And that's really why each of these Otiot are simple enough for a child to understand. Their meanings are so beautiful just as they are. So I'm going to go through the Otiot quickly and just mention a couple things about them, because I want to give the complete idea. Number 1, Aleph is the picture of an ox head, strength and power, being yoked to him, being taught by him, because we're yoked to him, and Abba Father being our headship. The ox is a very strong animal. They would only hook up the reins to the strongest ox and the one who is the most mature. If you have the reins on both, then they're just going to go in different directions and it's just not going to happen right. The one who is yoked, he is being led because he is yoked to the other ox who is stronger. So when that ox moves, then this ox moves. When the Father moves, we move. If we truly are yoked to him, then when he moves, we will move. Number 2, Beit is the house or the tent or the covering. This has to do with a daily need for protection from the rain or from, wild animals. This has a lot to do with the Chana of YHWH, pitching tents with him. There might be more scripture dedicated to the tabernacle than any other subject. He teaches us everything in models. If you really get into detail with the tabernacle, every little detail is to teach us about our relationship with the Father, how to pitch tents with him, and what a true relationship with him looks like. When Yuhshua came and did his work here, the Word became flesh and dwelt among his people. The root word there is chana. He chana with his people, the living Word. We are the tabernacle now. He dwells in us. Beit represents Yuhshua, family, and bloodlines. Number 3 is Gimel. It is a foot. It represents the Ruach HaKodesh, the Father's Spirit. It represents our walk. Are we walking with him, or are we walking apart from him? Towards him or away from him? It also has to do with gathering, and it has to do with messages, like delivering messages. Number 4 is Dalet. This is a picture of a door. Of course, we know who the door is. The door is Yuhshua. Dalet has to do with movement, dangling, because the tent door was hanging down. It also has to do with the 4 dimensions of space and time. The door is where you enter in and out of, the door of a tent. The tent represents our Chana with YHWH. We are saved by Chana through Aman. That Chana is the tent, his tent over us, and Dalet is the door of the tent. We have to enter through the door. No one comes to the Father except through Yuhshua. There's no other way to enter. Number 5 is Hay, the spiritual man. It's a spiritual man with his hands in the air worshiping, and it's about being in awe of something. What does it look like you're saying? It looks like you're saying awe, because you're just in awe of what you're looking at, or what you've just discovered, or the meltah that you've just received. You're just like in awe. Look, behold, this is incredible. It has to do with getting revelation, meltah, from the living Word. Hay has to do with the 5th dimension of Ruach, spirit. Wa is number 6. It is the tent peg. If they did not secure their tent down with a tent peg, if a storm came or really big wind, they would blow away. The tent peg has to do with security. Wa is also a connector. It talks about joining things, or like adding to something. Number 7 is Zayin. I said this in my last video. This is one of my favorite oats because it talks about cultivation. This is the Ploughing Tool. Abraham was actually the first one to bring the idea of planting a seed in the ground. I think pretty much developed the idea of, making a plowing tool. Everybody was, at planting time, everybody would go out and spread the seeds. It started happening year after year that all the birds would come and eat up the seeds immediately. What does that remind you of? Yeah, the parable. Abraham was just a boy when he went out there one day, and he stood there, and when the birds came, he said, "Do not descend, go back where you came from." And the birds just turned and left. I think that was the first time anyone really recognized Abraham was special. Zayin has to do with cultivation, good soil, digging into the Word. When you dig down into the ground, into the soil, that's where the seed is planted, that's where you'll find the roots. So that's what we're doing when we look at the Otiot. We are literally studying the roots and all the way back to the seed. Zayin also talks about Shabbat. This is the number 7, and Shabbat is the 7th day of the week. I also feel that Shabbat is like a day to dig into the Word. Every day is a day to dig into the Word. This also has to do with being fruitful. When you're talking about cultivating for planting a seed, that connects to fruit. Chet is number 8. It is a fence. It talks about dividing, division. Yuhshua said, I came to bring division. He came to divide and set us apart from the world and its ways. This talks about protection and surrounding. It also talks about the resurrection, the netchatef, the rapture. It talks about chai, eternal life, and the operation of the spiritual gifts. Number 9 is tet. It is a basket. It's about surrounding and containing. If they were catching fish, hey, I need something to put these in. They started making baskets. This talks about catching fish. It also talks about generosity and giving, especially in secrecy. Number 10 is yod. It is an arm and a hand. It has to do with our work and what we make, the work of Yuhshua in us, our actions, what we do. It has to do with our worship for Abba Father YHWH. And it also has to do with throwing. And I'm going to talk more about that later. Number 20 is kaf, and this is the open palm. I talked about this oat in my video on the study for the word dwell, which is shakan. Kaf talks a lot about receiving. And your palm needs to be open to receive something. If your hand is closed, you cannot receive it. Kaf has to do with bending and allowing, taming and subduing the work of Yuhshua. And it also has to do with the filling of the Ruach HaKodesh. Number 30 is lamed, and this is the shepherd's stick. It talks a lot about teaching and leading and steering, and also being taught, being guided, and being disciplined. Alan really used his shepherd stick on me one time. Like, I was a little sheep and I was getting too close to the edge, and I was like looking off the cliff, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, put his shepherd hook around me and like yanked me back like a loving shepherd would do before, your sheep goes off the cliff. I needed that discipline. We all need discipline. The word says that we should want discipline. Parents who love their children discipline their children in guiding and teaching, steering. We discipline them in the way that the Father shows us. But this also has to do with being the leader and the teacher of a flock. It also has to do with being yoked, like with Aleph, the first oat, the ox head, when I was talking about the ox. Being yoked to that more mature ox as he continues to walk with him and learn the path. He is learning by being yoked, and we learn by being yoked to the Father. So obviously this has to do with discipleship. Yeshua's disciples, his Talmudim, they were following him and they were learning from him. Number 40, this is mem. It is a picture of water, and it has to do with being washed and cleansed. And of course, we know that we are washed and cleansed by the word. And this also has to do with the blood. It has to do with liquid. The word for mom, it is aleph mem, strong liquid. So glue. Alan talks about his emmi, his mom. A mom is the glue in the family. It also has to do with mightiness and chaos. The size of our waters on the earth is mighty, and the storms on the sea are chaotic. Mem also has to do with questioning things. Like, we have so many questions about what is under the ocean because it's unknown. Nun is the number 50. I talked about the seed a lot in both of my videos. Yuhshua is the good seed. There are two seeds in the world, the good seed and the bad seed. And the good seed is Yuhshua, who is the word of YHWH. This has to do with life, chai, eternal life. It also has to do with constant, unstoppable motion, perpetuation, and continuous growth. It also has to do with offspring and heirs to the throne. Samech. This is number 60, the picture of a thorn. This is really interesting because I was studying thorns one time. When we think of a thorn, we think of like on a rose, or like the thorns that we picture on the crown that they put on Yuhshua. Have you ever seen a burr? Like from a burberry tree. They're like these little balls. They have all these little spikes coming off of them. If you walk through these plants, you will have burrs all over you. And so this really has to do with grabbing on. There's a lot of different kinds of them, and did you know that they all have seeds inside them? The thorns around it, it's protecting the seed. Elohim's Geder HaKodesh, his hedge of protection around us. They used to use thorn bushes a lot for protection, like a fence. Also has to do with a shield, shielding, which is like protection. Samech also has to do with infinity and limitlessness. Ayin, number 70, it is the picture of an eye. Of course, it has to do with sight and vision, but usually spiritual sight and vision. It has to do with watching, safa, and knowing. The word and the ruach converging in your soul, which brings spiritual sight and vision. Number 80, Pei is the picture of an open mouth, speaking and praising. Also blowing, like when Yuhshua blew on his Talmudim and said, receive the Ruach HaKodesh. And it also has to do with being on the edge, like when you're standing at the shore, you're on the shore's edge, like the edge of something. Sad. This is the oat that Alan wore around his neck, his favorite oat, and it symbolizes the way, the narrow path, the way that Yuhshua taught while he walked this earth, and the way that he teaches still through his living word, righteousness. This also has to do with hunting and chasing the side of something, especially when you're laying on your side waiting for an ambush. Kuf is a number 100. This is the picture of a sun on the horizon. Could be sunrise, could be sunset, light either growing or diminishing, and it also has to do with time. It represents cycles. Yahuwah teaches us in cycles, cyclically. The sun comes up every day and it sets every day. He teaches us through his moedim, his appointed times, and they all have such significant meanings for us to carry with us all the time, every day. But those times that he set is so that we wouldn't forget to zikar them, remember them, and keep them on our mind, meditate on them. We have the cycle of a seed, Resh, the number 200. It is a man's head. Resh has to do with headship. Who is your headship? It has to do with thoughts, mindset. What are your thoughts on? What thoughts are you agreeing with? Are your thoughts on Elohim and his ways, what he thinks? Or have you just adopted the mindset of the world? Resh also talks about being the chief or the first of something. This is Sheen. It is the number 300. 2 front teeth. Sheen has to do with cutting and being sharp, separating, and it also has to do with pressing. Also a pair, like 2 of something, or like a second one of something. This is the last oat. This is Tau. This is the number 400. It is a picture of crossed sticks. Tau has to do with being a mark. We've been talking lately about the mark of Yahuwah and seeing the mark of Yahuwah on each other. I always think about, X marks the spot. If you turn Tau a little bit, it looks like an X. And I always think about, a treasure map or something where, X marks the spot. If you think about it, way back in ancient times, If, let's say, they wanted to hide something, you know, they wanted to bury it underground, well, how would they find it again? They would put some sort of mark there. And, you know, oftentimes I'm sure that 2 sticks would be perfect to cross right there, and you would be able to find whatever it is that you were hiding. Tau really has to do with a sign. It is like a signature. It also is like a monument, you know, to mark something or remember something. So now I just went through each oat separately, and that is the absolute most important part. And I said in my last video that I really believe that we could just take it all the way back down to the seed, all of the signs of the Otiot and their meanings. If you really understand all of those things, it's so simple. The Father's truths, the Father's promises, his signs. All of these signs teach us things like keeping Elohim number 1 on a list of 1, and how important it is to be yoked to the Father, and how important it is to keep our mindset on the truth, what our thoughts are on, and how important that is. It talks about our walk. It talks about salvation, chana, pitching tents with the Father, and being secure in that. He is our security in all things. For thousands of years, this is what they had. They had life. They had life experiences. And that is why the written word put in the Otiot is all representative of these concepts and ideas about life and how we walk through this world. And remember, not everybody knew how to read and write. And we know that the word was all the way from the beginning. This is how people learned, through all of these concepts and ideas and concrete meanings that are connected to each one of these oats. I stole this one from my husband's closet. I'm sure that I'm not going to be able to hide the fact that I've been going through a serious battle. It's been a really intense battle. Crazy. Crazy. But, you know, the thing is, I'm still YHWH. Really, honestly. That's what these battles do. And I'm forgetting to look at the circle. It's all on the good list. What a perfect little parable that has been. Would that be the right word? This battle is definitely on the good list. Every single bit of it is under his control. It's when we try and take things into our own hands, that's when there's trouble. We're not YHWH when we do that. We just have to give it all to him. Think upon his word. I'm tired from the battle. I'm sure you can probably tell. Somehow, by YHWH's design and his purpose, this battle has and is still strengthening us. It's so awesome. Shalom, Chavarim.
A tree sits in the darkness, wise men believe. The mystery of the unknown words poets conceive. and all that's left of a horrible nightmare. It's the portions kept for only those who dare in the night. Water flowing beautifully down the mountainside is known to those only who by nature's laws abide, and all that's left is the singing of a bird. If you cannot see, the rest then shall be heard in the night. The driftwood, it is lonely, ocean winds do tell. It travels through the seas of life, through passages of hell, and all that's left is driftwood on the shore. It comes to dream and travel far no more in the night. The distant sounds of soldiers crying in their fright, praying in the darkness, fighting in the light, and all that's left is sadness on the fields. But to your eyes the truth is well concealed. Nothing then is ever quite revealed, except the thoughts of soldiers from the fields in the night. But soon the clouds shall separate the fake things from the real, and all these lies and falsities shall crumble with the fields, and all that's left is beauty in the soul, so clean and new, now shining like the gold. The love of God we sharingly